Hello, Creative Station fans. It's Peter Fujiwara back again for episode 3 of iPhoneography, and this week is on camera movements. So there are basically 5 camera movements that we're going to be talking about. The first one is a pan. The next one is a tilt. The next one is a dolly, and it can be dolly in or it can be dolly out. The next one is a truck shot, or in this case, a slider shot, side to side. And then the last is a pedestal, where you can go up and you can go down. Now I'm going to be showing you some samples of how each of these camera movements can add significant production value to the way you tell your story. So I'm going to be switching over to those right now to give you an idea of how that works. So in this next section, I just want to show you some sample videos that will give you an idea how camera movements can affect the quality of the storytelling. So these are 2 projects that I did when I was teaching in my regional school, the art school. And my grade 12 students had what I called level 5 projects, which were external clients to the school, actually external clients to the school district. In this case, one was the Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Toronto, and the other was the Peel Police. Look at some of these shots and how camera movements are used in conjunction, obviously, with music and the quality of the shots to enhance the production value. So let's take a look at this one first. So this is the Doors project, and I just want you to take a look at some of the movements involved in these shots.
Well, this whole project revolves around that iconic image of the door.
So you can see in this last shot, that's a tilt from the ground going up, and very effective to make you aware of what those items are, those doors there. And so each of those shots, if you didn't notice, there's really only one shot that didn't have a camera movement in it. So if we go right back to the beginning and we play this one, and I'm just going to mute the audio there, and you look at that, that's a dolly out. And that's using a slider. And this is a slight dolly in. And this one is still. So I lied. There was one still. So here is a tilt up. But it's incredible how those small movements make such a significant difference to the production value of each of those shots. Now, this one is done by the Peel Police. And I want you to look at the camera movements in this as well. So take a look here. And this is based on a true story. Okay, we'll pause it there. Now I want you to think about each of those different shots. I'm just going to move back and forth on these. This first one, if you look at this, I'll just mute the volume here. If you look at this, you can see there's a slight dolly out. Okay, just enough to give it that effectiveness to show where he is. And she's actually sitting in the back of a police car. If we look at the next shot, okay, this is a still, it's not moving. This shot is another truck shot or slider shot, and this one is a dolly out on a slider. And you can tell because of how the focus goes in and out of focus as the shot moves back. Okay, and this is another slider shot going sideways. So this shot is very difficult to do because you actually have to use the slider and then move the camera to keep the subject in the exact same spot in the rule of thirds. So this one is very well done. So just watch this. Subject stays in the same spot. Just beautifully done. Okay, but each of those movements enhances how you tell the story, the interest of the viewer, and that's why we do these sort of things. That's why we do camera movements in our videos. So in those videos, I mentioned the term slider shot. What I didn't mention is there's actually a device for videography called a slider, which is a couple of rails with a camera mount on top, and you mount the whole device on a tripod and you slide the camera across. And that's how they got such beautiful shots, going side to side, in and out, or even up and down. Now, that one shot with the girl, the reason why I was so impressed is because you had to slide the camera and pan at the same time, which is so difficult to do. And that's why I was so impressed with my students. Anyway, I bet you're wondering, how do I get beautiful slider shots with my iPhone? So I want to demonstrate just how you might do that. So here's a picture of Eric Macchio, fellow ADE in Niagara, also an amazing musician and videographer. And this is a great shot of him. It's framed up beautifully, rule of thirds, but can we make it better with a camera movement? So let's take a look at this same shot where I've added in a slider shot with a rack focus and just see if you think it's any different. So now, isn't that a significantly better shot than the previous one? And I bet you're wondering, well, how did you do that with your iPhone? Well, let's take a look. So all I did was I got a glass table, put a piece of paper underneath my phone so that it slid really easily, and just slowly moved my camera from the starting position where I wanted the books to the finishing shot of Eric. Very simple to do, but look at the quality of the shot you get. So let's take a look at that shot again. Such a simple thing to do, such an impressive result, all with your iPhone. Now, moving on to the activity, I just want you to do 3 of those shots. And you can just use your phone. And the way you use your phone is hold it like this and make sure you have bends in your elbow and your shoulders are nice and loose. So you'll be just like if you're carrying a coffee cup. So if you carry a coffee cup, you never spill it because you have these joints that are constantly adjusting to keep it stable. So it's the same thing when you're actually shooting with your phone. Just make sure your joints are fairly loose and you're trying to keep this steady. Yeah, ever since the iPhone 6 Plus, we've had optical image stabilization built into the iPhone. So you should get some pretty decent shots. If you do have the luxury of getting other things like this basic handle that I got from Amazon, that really helps keeping the shot steady. Or if you have the money to buy things like a gimbal, like this one, you could actually put it on a gimbal. And let's just get it on there. And if I turn that on, let's stabilize it a bit there. And I turn it on, and this will be completely stable as you shoot. So these additional devices, obviously you don't need them, but they definitely come in handy when you're doing camera movements. So the 3 shots that I want you to do, first one is a simple pan. So you're going to take your phone and you're going to do a pan of anything in the neighborhood. Could be trees, could be anything. And remember with the samples, it doesn't have to be fast. It should actually be quite slow. And think of where you might use this in your stories. Okay, so the next one is going to be a dolly in. Now, the dolly in is used effectively if you go from a wider shot where you have someone looking in a direction where they see a very large area, and then you want to focus their attention on something. So you dolly into a very specific object. Now, that's where you think about, and then you might cut to a close-up of that object. So that's where you use the dolly in. The last shot is going to be really fun. That's my favorite, the slider shot. So when you do a slider shot, it's going to be a reveal with a rack focus. Now, a rack focus is when you focus on something first close and then far, or vice versa. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our phone in front of an object that it's focused on and then do the slide to the side or the truck. and focus on something further away. And the camera will automatically focus on that object further away. Now, we haven't got any control right now with the standard app of how fast it focuses, but it should be good enough. So once you've done those, I want you to save those files and then put them into iMovie on your phone and create that sample file again. So put in the pan and call it the pan camera movement. Title it that way, and then put in the dolly and say dolly camera movement, and then put in the slider shot and just call it slider shot camera movement. You can just put in pan, and you can just put in dolly, and you can put in just slider shot if you want for the title. Export that as a file and then keep it as a reference for when we have the big shoot, which is coming up in a few weeks or a couple of weeks. Okay. Now, coming this Friday for the live, we'll obviously be going over a lot of these different things with the different camera moves and the different shots that we're doing. But we're also going to be talking about next week's activity, which is where we get into planning shots in order to edit them effectively. And that's called matched action. So hopefully you'll come and join me on Friday and get a sneak peek on the matched action. Hope to see you then. Take care.